Hi, today we're looking at photographing grey herons eating frogs. Now, I've got many sayings about wildlife photography. One of them is, you want to photograph wildlife? Don't go into the countryside, go into the cities. That's where our wildlife is tame and approachable. They get habituated to people and you can get right up to them very easy. A grey heron in the countryside can be a very nervous bird, fly away from you at 100 metres. But in the suburbs of Birmingham, where I am now, they've become very, very tame, and in the London parks they are even tamer. So this is about a 15-minute walk from my house, and I've never been here in my life before. I lived here all my life, just never come to this little patch. And the reason is, when you're out on the road, it's a rubbish dump. Lots and lots of rubbish, commercial and domestic rubbish. It's just a natural fly tipping area, so it's never looked very attractive, and I've driven past it many times and just never walked along this path into this little rough area here. The reason I came is because about 2 weeks ago I had my first coronavirus vaccination, and they set up a temporary clinic just down the road. So while I was here I just had a mooch around, and there's a couple of little pools and a very, very tame grey heron on there, and he's feasting on the frogs. Let's talk briefly about how you go about stalking a bird when you're trying to approach a bird and get close to it. As I'm moving along this path, I'm not trying to be invisible. There's no way can you walk up to a heron and it not know you're there. What you're trying to be is non-threatening. And there's three ways you go about that. First of all, the lower your profile, the better. And I think that's probably fairly instinctive. When we are children playing around in the playground and we're creeping up on someone, we automatically sort of go low as we creep up to them. It's just an instinctive thing. Well, that's the same with birds. The lower your profile, the smaller you are, the better. Which are you more nervous of if you're being approached by two dogs, the big dog or the little dog? The big dog is more intimidating, so the smaller you are, the better. The second thing is, you don't take a direct approach to the bird. The bird's in the middle of that water. If I walk in a straight line towards it, I'm going to be far more intimidating than if I walk off to its left hand side, as if I'm going to go past the bird. Go back to the school playground. If you're standing there and the school bully is walking towards you and is coming a dead straight line at you and is looking at you, you're far more nervous than if the school bully is going across you. He's heading towards the school gates, he's coming very close to you, but he's going past you. Far less intimidating. Same with a bird. You want to walk as if you're going to go past it and keep on going. And the path here is ideal for that. That's what I'm going to do. And on the left hand side of the path it dips down a bit, so that gives me that low angle as well. If I keep on the left, I'm a bit lower. And the third and final thing, no abrupt movements. It's not just a question of going slow, but just not doing things abruptly, like just suddenly raising your arm. You move gently and get into position. Since I'm going to be hanging around here for a while, I might as well try something else while I'm waiting. I'm putting the GoPro camera down. Very tiny little action camera. It will run for about 2 hours before the battery goes flat, and it just gives me a different shot. I placed it where the heron is prone to walking up to, but I was lucky that it actually landed almost on the camera. But also you could see it didn't like the camera. It was looking at it and it unnerved it a little bit. So it walked away, but not bothered by my presence. There were actually 3 herons that were coming in. One was exceptionally tame, one was tame-ish, and the third one was a very wild bird. You couldn't get within 100 metres of it. I didn't have to wait long before it caught its first frog, and in fact it was in this session that it caught 8 frogs in an hour, and all told I saw it catch 20 frogs. That was over several days. And what I was usually doing was turning up about 8 o'clock in the morning and staying till about 10 o'clock, by which time there was more people coming backwards and forwards. Not many people were using that pathway because it was rather muddy at the one end, which put the dog walkers off. But as ever with birds, they were more nervous of the dogs if they came close and would usually disappear, but people, well, certainly the tame heron, would accept people just walking past. Interesting the way it keeps dunking it in the water, keeping it wet and moist, I assume, to help swallow it. Now he's got it where he wants it. You can just about see the lump going down the throat, and then he needs another swig of water. Keep washing it down. And that frog was still alive. Must be able to feel it going down his gut. But as soon as it's eaten one, it starts looking for another. Between these herons, they must have devoured a lot of frogs. Can't be good for the frog population. If I saw it eat 20, just think how many it ate when I wasn't there. One of the problems with shooting video is you do tend to miss out on stills pictures. Very hard to do both at the same time, and I didn't really get that many good stills images of this. When I was taking stills pictures, the bird would either be hidden in the reeds or the light was very poor, so I got lots of good video and didn't do too well with the stills pictures. Another shot that I was aiming for is when it actually struck and caught the frog, and that's a lot more difficult, but I did eventually get it. The way it sways its body and then strikes. Now this is in slow motion, 180 frames per second with a Panasonic G9. Something else that's different about shooting video is when you've got lots of out of focus grasses in the foreground, it doesn't really matter so much. It's the same with distracting backgrounds. It doesn't affect the picture nearly so much as with a stills photograph. Because the bird is moving, you don't really notice the out of focus branches and grass nearly so much as you would do with a stills picture. So I'll just show you 3 stills pictures I took. I said I didn't do very well because it was actually very foggy conditions when I took these, and I've really had to boost the contrast a long way in processing. Thanks for watching.